Okay, hi there. Welcome to another in my policy focus series. Can economic policies make a difference to the outcomes of key macroeconomic variables such as growth and jobs and inflation? Well, in this series of revision videos, we're going to be taking a look at a topic and examining some of the government policy interventions, some of the strategies that might be effective in meeting a particular aim. In this video, let's spend a few minutes thinking about policies focused on accelerating innovation. And we'll take this question as our little starting point. Examine policies that might lead to a faster pace of innovation in the UK economy. How does invention differ from innovation? They're clearly linked topics. So I would argue that invention is essentially the act of finding something new, a new idea for a product, a genuinely new process. Whereas innovation is the more practical application of new inventions into marketable, commercially viable products and services. So innovation is the creation of new intellectual assets. Innovation can also be making often small, subtle changes to something already established. So, becoming more efficient or perhaps even to slightly bigger breakthroughs. And innovation is essentially an iterative process. It happens over time. It's not necessarily a eureka moment. Here's the latest data from the Boston Consulting Group, trying to rank, if they can, the top 10 innovative companies in the world each year. Apple stayed top since 2005. Google's risen up the listings. Amazon and Microsoft up there. Tesla now makes an appearance in 2021, and so too does the giant pharmaceutical company Pfizer, of course, in the news, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. In terms of the UK, an interesting survey is something called the Global Innovation Index, or GII, obviously. And that ranks, again, world economies according to their overall innovation capabilities, including things like university research clusters and innovation spending by global brands. UK actually does pretty well. It ranks fourth among the 130 plus countries featured in the GII index, Global Innovation Index in 2020. That's a good index worth keeping an eye out for, perhaps worth researching via Google. So what kind of policies might improve innovation in the UK? Again, I can't cover everything in a short video. I just wanted to maybe highlight for you, let's say six strategies, and there's many more. These are all linked, of course, to supply-side policies, supply-side economics, trying to improve both the productive potential, the capacity, and the capability of a country. One could be being open to and favourable to skilled inward migration, including graduates in key STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and maths. By the way, the E is for engineering, not for economics. But inward migration of skilled people, including, for example, PhD students, is obviously very, very important. So too, the proper funding of science and technology intensive clusters. Often one tends to find those in and around university towns and cities, not always, but you get those quite strong agglomeration economies, science parks, clusters of high-tech, high-knowledge businesses often can be a catalyst for innovation. One thinks of Silicon Valley in the States, obviously, but there are many other examples around the world. I'm sure you can investigate agglomeration economies through Google. Tax relief, maybe fiscal policy has a role to play, for example, in giving businesses slightly more generous tax relief against the money they can set aside, tax liability against the money they invest in research and development. And wider financial reforms, perhaps our banking system, perhaps our private equity system is perhaps too short-termist. And R&D, research and development, typically, of course, is very long-term, big, long gestation periods. Perhaps we need some financial reforms to get more money to those high research businesses. You need to be able to commercialize your innovations and make money from them, so you need to be able to protect your intellectual property. So perhaps some legal reforms to strengthen patent laws. And a wider supply-side policy could be liberalisation of markets, to open up domestic markets, perhaps through trade and investment, to often innovative, smaller new entrants who can challenge existing firms and threaten the status quo. Well, we're asked to examine policies, so we're looking to add in a little bit of evaluation as well. Many research projects that often lead to innovation are high risk. The upfront costs are significant, and if their research doesn't work, there are some significant sunk costs. Sunk costs are costs you can't get back in whole or in part if you end a project. So in fact, you might argue that the government could have a key role to play in effectively providing that kind of seed corn, early stage finance for a lot of high risk research projects, perhaps in partnership with the private sector. And I guess the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine research and getting the vaccine into people's arms is a really good recent example of that kind of public-private partnership. Another evaluation point is that when it comes to innovation, it literally takes time, a long time to build. So the time lags are pretty long for a culture of innovation to build. Innovating is not easy, and for those innovations to diffuse across societies. It pops a little quicker now these days with the power of technologies and networks, but innovation is often a slow burner when it comes to a strategy. Thirdly, innovation can be disruptive. We call this process creative destruction. And do have a look at my short video on creative destruction. It's on the YouTube channel. So innovations create new products, create new jobs, but other jobs might be lost as a result, perhaps creating some structural unemployment. I think in terms of evaluation, effective funding of research networks and those high knowledge clusters is absolutely critical, particularly in higher education. So the governments have got to get the funding right for higher education. Who should pay for it? How best can we attract the top talented people in the world? There is a global battle for talent. That becomes a huge issue about university funding in particular. And let's not forget that often innovation happens on the ground, in a factory, in the workplace. And so let's not forget innovations in management. They're often very significant, such as lean manufacturing, promoted I think initially by Toyota and other Japanese companies. So have a look at management innovation, perhaps, if you want to explore this particular topic further. So there we go. Innovation, crucial, absolutely key part of any supply side strategy. And hopefully this short video has given you a few ideas for some policy interventions that might kickstart and accelerate the process towards faster and effective innovation. Huge thanks for joining me. Take care. See you again sometime soon.